Evander versus Lewis, the rematch, justice in the ring, or another close call? The first clash between Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis ended in controversy, a disputed draw that left fans and pundits stunned at Madison Square Garden. But the rematch at the Thomas and Mack Center promised redemption. This time Holyfield came in sharper, more tactical. Lewis, relentless and hungry to prove a point. What followed was a high-stakes chess match of skill, heart and strategy. In this breakdown, we step into the ring, not just to relive the action, but to explore the deeper philosophy of boxing. Did the judges get it right the second time? Let's find out. So, let's introduce the fighter's attributes. Lennox Lewis has a great jab, some would say the standard of Larry Holmes. Also, under the tutelage of Emanuel Stewart, Lewis developed the ability to shorten his punches and use combinations. He also uses holding to nullify an opponent's output and to tire them out. Lewis has a high ring IQ and a vicious right hand. Being a lover of chess, he was very calculated and non-emotional. Now let's talk about Evander Holyfield. He had a great double jab when he chose to use it, and a vicious left hook to the body, as noted by George Foreman. Holyfield was also an excellent counterpuncher, a skill clearly demonstrated in his fights with Mike Tyson. He had a tendency to press his head against his opponent's chest, making himself a minimal target. In close quarters, he would often step to his right and throw a short left hook, creating a better angle for it to land effectively. Like Lewis, Holyfield also possessed a high ring IQ. Before we look at the second fight, let's recap the following from the first fight. The first fight was for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, held at Madison Square Garden. Emanuel Stewart, Lennox Lewis's trainer, had previously trained Evander Holyfield and other world champions, including Thomas Hitman Hearns. Stewart was widely respected for his technical knowledge and championship pedigree. Holyfield's trainer, Don Turner, had worked with Larry Holmes and other top-level fighters. Turner was also known for his skill in managing cuts, a crucial advantage in long, punishing bouts. The decision in the first fight was highly controversial. Many observers, including fans and analysts, felt Lewis had clearly done enough to win. Despite this, the bout was officially declared a draw. The results sparked outrage and led to widespread accusations of bias and questionable judging, especially given the high stakes of an undisputed title match. So let's talk about round one. In the first round, Holyfield opens with a double jab and takes the center of the ring. This is important because the double jab increases his output and gives him a better opportunity to close the distance on his target. Lewis does something really smart. He feints with his jab and right hand, then fires a hard left hook. Here's why it works. Holyfield shifts his weight onto his right leg, which partially neutralizes the right hand, but leaves him more exposed to the left hook. Because Holyfield is anticipating the jab, and right hand, using a strong left hook, is a clever variable tactic. On the inside, Holyfield fires a series of right hands to the top of Lewis's head. Lewis answers with a perfectly timed right hand counter as Holyfield throws an overhand right through the target. So far, both fighters are introducing nuanced strategies and keeping each other off balance. Let's jump to round 3. In this round, Don Turner offers the following advice. Use the jab to the chest or jab to the shoulder to neutralize his right hand. This is a clever way to utilize the jab. He also calls for a double jab followed by a right hand. Lewis throws hard single jabs, The feint makes it much harder to read. Lewis times a right hand through his double jab. This is great timing, throwing the right hand while positioning himself of the front foot. Holyfield doubles his jab and lands several body shots. Body shots are a good investment for later in the fight. The most interesting development in this round is Holyfield's overhand right. The timing is perfect, and because he's constantly dipping to his right, it's difficult to see the setup. This is immediately followed by a right hand counter and then a flurry of right hands. At this point, it looks like Evander has been drilling the simultaneous deployment of multiple right hands. Let's jump to round 5. In this round, Emmanuel Stewart instructs Lewis to throw his punches underneath and to shorten the trajectory of his right hand, favouring a compact shot over a high one. This is intelligent advice and highlights the importance of boxing IQ and mid-fight adjustments. Up to now, Evander has relied heavily on double jabs to the chest. In this round, his trajectory shifts. He begins launching leaping left hooks off his back foot. Normally, a left hook involves dipping to the left, so throwing it without that dip makes it faster and gives it a different angle. Lewis responds with some creativity with a straight right, left jab, followed by a soft jab, straight right. Lewis is also throwing some two-punch combinations, body and head. Unfortunately, the British broadcast hasn't picked up on any of Evander's strategic nuances, the chest-level double jab, the back foot leaping left hooks, or the multiple right hands. That omission can mislead viewers, but that's another story. Evander then introduces a double left hook, adding subtle variety to his offence. Holyfield introduces 2 foot feints before throwing the punches. Holyfield is also beginning to introduce the left hook to the body as a counter, a highly potent punch in his arsenal. As the fight grows more physical, more opportunities arise. Lewis is even cut by an accidental headbutt. Holyfield applies psychological pressure with well-timed foot feints. Before round 7, there is some important context. George Foreman is acknowledging the jabs to the chest. George Foreman states that you can't let an opponent hit you in the chest. Punches to the chest affect stamina and breathing. Holyfield uses the cross-arm defense to try and nullify Lewis's right hand. The trajectory of Lewis's right hand is short, which makes it harder to defend. In round 7, there is a shift. Instead of moving side to side, Lewis comes forward. Intelligently, he throws short punches, but this creates an unintended consequence. By delivering these punches, he does 2 things. He closes the distance, and while restoring his breathing, he gives Evander punching opportunities. A short left hook counter shakes Lewis's equilibrium. Lewis raises his gloves, and Holyfield changes the trajectory of his punches to the body. That left hook to the body is another investment. Lewis is looking for the uppercut. Appropriate, because Holyfield is bending his knees and putting his head on Lewis's chest. Holyfield counters Lewis's jab with a powerful right hand. Then Holyfield counters a Lewis right hand with a left hook. Again, Evander invests back with the left hook to the body. Evander could not land his left hook counter in the first fight because Lewis was moving side to side, managing the distance. By shortening his punches and reducing the distance, he is giving Evander the counter opportunities that were previously unavailable. Lewis shows incredible heart and throws an accumulation of short punches at the end of the round. So now it's round 9. Lewis is getting back to the jab. However, Holyfield lands a beautiful double jab, waits, and then lands the overhand right. Great timing. Lewis tries a short right hand lead. Holyfield attempts an adventurous left uppercut, but it misses. By changing the trajectory of his left hook into an uppercut in round 9, increases the chances of landing that punch. Lewis is anticipating that uppercut. He throws two of his own in quick succession. There is noticeable holding, a sign of fatigue setting in. This is where Lewis should be using his weight more effectively. A sharp left hook to the body from Holyfield marks another strategic investment. These left hooks to the body are irregular and therefore difficult to read and block. Holyfield follows up with a great double jab. Lewis responds with a left hook to the body. The setup is beautiful. He uses a straight right to the head as a distraction, deflecting attention and opening up the body for the hook. Holyfield becomes aggressive, but Lewis lands two uppercuts. The second is a sensational shot. Holyfield shows his incredible chin once again. A great exchange of punches follows. Lewis then pushes Holyfield, a calculated move to create space. This round feels like a microcosm of the entire fight. Both men have their moments, unleashing intensity while demonstrating high-level boxing IQ. Round 12, the final round. The round begins with an exchange of jabs. Both fighters have found success in this area throughout the fight. During one exchange, Holyfield lands a sharp counter, a right-left combination followed by another right hand. Lewis responds with a counter right hand through Holyfield's double jab, a slick and effective maneuver. He has only used this move twice in the entire fight. Holyfield then lands a beautiful left uppercut. The timing here is exceptional. Once again, Lewis looks for the uppercut. It's a smart choice. When Holyfield presses forward and puts his head on your chest, the uppercut is the ideal punch to throw. Lewis continues to throw the right hand with a short, efficient trajectory. However, he's throwing his punches at the target rather than through it, and that's the end of the fight. As we know, Lennox Lewis officially won the rematch, but was that the right result? Lewis certainly did some impressive things. He shortened his right hand and punches overall, effectively utilized the uppercut, and set smart traps to land his own left hook to the body. His technical adjustments were clear. However, Holyfield was also impressive. His jabs to the chest had a noticeable impact, and his double jab was more effective than in their first encounter. His counter left hook frequently found the target, and his right hand parry occasionally neutralized Lewis's jab. Importantly, Holyfield used distance more effectively this time, no longer stuck at mid-range where Lewis could pick him off. Instead, he operated either from the outside or up close, minimizing Lewis's mid-range dominance. It's important to acknowledge that fight stats don't tell the full story. Lewis shortened his punches for speed and volume, while Holyfield put his entire body behind his shots. Punch stats may count how many landed, but they don't measure the weight or impact of those punches. Notably, Holyfield hurt Lewis in this fight. Round 7 featured two significant moments that shifted momentum, and the overall body language was different compared to the first bout. Some say Lewis won. Some say Holyfield did. At the end of the day, boxing is subjective. What's undeniable is that these two legends left it all in the ring. The real winner that night was the sport of boxing itself, a beautiful, brutal chess match between two of the all-time greats.
So there's just a few things that I want to add here, and I've got a few notes with me. And the first thing is that obviously the double jab, Evander used the double jab, and that was really effective in this fight. That's not to say he didn't use it in the first fight, but he used it more in this fight. And the double jab is an essential weapon, and he used it as a lead and he used it as a he used it as a lead and he used it as a counter. He also used his right hand to try and nullify Lewis's left jab. So it was almost like he was trying to touch his arm or touch his shoulder with it, but it was almost like a karate move. But again, he didn't do that as much in the first fight. And this hand placement was really important to nullify the effectiveness of Lennox Lewis's jab. And let's be real, Lennox Lewis's jab is, if you talk about the best jabs in the world, you're talking Lennox Lewis, Larry Holmes. I mean, Lennox Lewis has a phenomenal jab. And all of Emmanuel Stewart's fighters from the Kronk gym, they all had great jabs. Klitschko, again, he had a great jab as well. But also with this double jab you had, and I know I've spoken about this before, it's the double jab to the chest. And this is something, and I'm going to give 2 reference points here. The first reference point I'm going to give is Carl Froch. When Carl Froch fought Andre Ward, an amazing fighter with high boxing IQ. When Andre Ward fought Carl Froch, he again used the jab to the chest. And there was an interview where Carl Froch actually acknowledged that the jab to the chest had an effect on him, and that he was not familiar with this type of attack. And also my second reference is George Foreman, who expertly picked up in the fight, in the commentary, how effective this double jab to the chest, how effective it was, and how much damage it was causing. And I really think that little nuance of throwing that double jab to the chest, I really think that had a tremendous effect in the fight. Also, again, we're talking about Holyfield, the left hook off the back foot. So throwing off the back hook with the short trajectory, wasn't dipping when he threw it to the head. He just would throw it just like that, and off his back foot, and he would leap into it, and he'd mostly catching that jab and then throw that leaping left hook, and he was really effective with it. And sometimes he would double up with it, and again he was effective. Now in the first fight, I believe it was round 5, he dipped through the left hook, and then Lewis, because he was positioned to his right, he was able to just take a few steps, avoid the left hook, and then throw the right hand. And then you had the sequence where Evander was against the ropes. So this time Evander was positioned differently, and he was throwing it like that as opposed to like that when he was throwing it to the head. And again, this was an effective maneuver. And of course we had the counter left hook, and sometimes Evander Holyfield uses the Archie Moore defense, which is like this. And there were moments when he used that defense, and I think it was in round 7 when he used it, and he threw that left hook. He caught the right hand and threw the left hook. And again, in the first fight, he wasn't able to get his timing, but in this fight, he did get his timing, and that left hook counter again was effective. And the counter again was thrown. It was catch and then throw. There was no, he didn't load up with it. Now, ironically, when he would target the body, he would dip to his left and then throw to the body. Now, remember, when you're dipping to your left and throwing the hook, I think it's a natural instinct to think it's going to come to the head. So the hand placement comes here. So he dips. The hand placement of Lewis is here, and then he just throws the left hook underneath. So again, that dip allowed for more power into that left hook to the body. And again, when Evander fought George Foreman stated that the hardest punch Evander Holyfield had was the left hook to the body. And another thing I can remember, and I can't remember if there was the first or the second fight, or the second fight, but it was Don Turner's advice. And Don Turner was Evander Holyfield's trainer, very respectable trainer, and he said this, and I thought this was great advice. Basically, he said words to the effect of, when they're in the clinch, he says, when Lewis reaches around you, throw your hands to the chest. So when he's reaching to grab you, if you throw your hands to your chest, he won't be able to grab anything, and then let the combination go, and then let the left hook go. And I just thought that was some real high-level boxing advice. And again, obviously on the other side, you had Emmanuel Stewart, and again, that's a high respectable trainer giving great advice. And Lewis did a lot of good things too. Despite that right hand block that was causing him some problems, he still was able to get his jab off at times. And Lewis's jab, it's fast, it's hard, and it creates that distance. What I really liked actually was Lewis's left hook to the body, because he didn't come through the front door. And when I say coming through the front door, I mean just throw the left hook to the body. He would throw a short right really short, and then throw the left hook to the body. So the right was like a deflection. I really liked that. And he also threw some combinations, which was really effective and really impressive for a big man. And his uppercuts, particularly in round 9, they were really impressive. That uppercut in round 9 would have knocked out, or at least knocked down, a lot of heavyweights. So, both performed well. But Evander, considering what happened in the first fight, it was like you had the first fight where the consensus was that Lennox Lewis won the fight, even though officially it was a draw. And you had this fight, and Evander just took his game to another level. And I guess we shouldn't have been too shocked about this, because Evander is good at rematches. Evander Holyfield always excels in the rematch. And I think ultimately, with this match, it was a grueling contest. There was a very grueling contest with hard punches thrown. But ultimately, there was a lot of boxing intelligence in there. There was a lot of boxing wisdom. They both had very good camps, very good people around them, and they both brought a lot to the table. And I thought it was a really good fight. And it's difficult for me, because on one hand, I really like Lennox Lewis, but then I was like a diehard Evander Holyfield fan, so my confirmation bias is always going to lean towards your favorite fighter. But what one cannot deny is that Evander, he evolved his performance, and he brought more to the table this time, and this was an exceptionally competitive fight. And obviously fights can be measured in different metrics. Who threw more punches? Who landed more punches? But then there's other metrics in terms of what was the percentage of the connection, and what type of punches are they throwing. So if you're throwing short punches, but another fighter is throwing long and hard punches, then it's kind of hard to measure, because four short punches, is that more than 2 hard punches? So it's always quite hard to measure things purely on stats. But what we can say from looking at the fight is that in terms of who hurt who more, it would look like that Evander Holyfield caused significantly more punishment in this fight. And I think it was Don Turner that said that this was the last fight that Evander Holyfield fought on this level. And when he said this level, he was referring to World Championship level. And it's important to realize that both of these fighters, they're great fighters, they're legendary fighters. And, they both have amazing careers. So that's my breakdown of Evander Lewis 2. I hope you enjoyed it.